This is going to be one of those anime where the MC is a black guy who looks like an Arab but isn't actually one. He has green hair, which is also a reference to the sands of the desert. The reason why he's going through the Middle East is because he's looking for a cure to his sick mom. Yeah, this anime was clearly inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender. But let's move past that and focus on how this character is overpowered. First of all, he's called Avdol, and he's from a tribe that can control fire. The reason why he has green hair is because they believe it helps them concentrate their fire powers. His tribe is located in a place called Tamazight, which looks exactly like Morocco, and that's where we meet his mom, who is being kept alive by the tribal shaman. It turns out she was cursed by a French guy named Vincent, who we will later find out is an assassin. Avdol decides he's gonna go after this Vincent guy and kill him. The problem is he's too weak to do so. So the tribal shaman gives him a necklace that gives him 30% more power. That doesn't sound like much, but considering he couldn't defeat a single enemy before, and now he can defeat multiple enemies at once, I would say it's a pretty big upgrade. It's also thanks to this new power boost that he's able to tame a wild chicken that happens to be a female. And females are stronger than males in this world. I don't know why. Maybe it's 'cause they lay eggs, and the chicken happens to be immortal, which makes sense since chickens are already kind of immortal. They just live in a constant state of suffering. Anyway, the immortal chicken becomes his pet and can fly really fast, which means our protagonist doesn't need to walk everywhere. Avdol then goes to a nearby town to look for clues about this Vincent guy. While there, he finds a magic shop where the owner tells him that if he defeats 5 masters of the elements, he will tell him where to find this French guy. Turns out the first master of the elements is a swordsman who uses earth. Avdol defeats him using his fire, and then the second master of the elements is a swordsman who uses water. Again, Avdol defeats him using his fire. Again, Avdol defeats him using his fire. And then the third master of the elements is a guy who uses wind. At this point, I'm starting to think that fire might be the strongest element in this world. The fourth master of the elements is a guy who controls magnets and metal. This guy actually gave Avdol a bit of trouble, but he was still no match for Avdol's fire. And after defeating him, the old man finally reveals that the last master of the elements is someone who controls portals, which is exactly what our villain Vincent can do. You have to admit, it's pretty creative how they made each level of this tournament correspond to a different element. But anyway, now that Avdol knows what element the last master uses, he's able to defeat him really easily. And in return, the old man gives him a scroll that allows him to breathe underwater. He then continues his journey across the desert until he finds a city. In this city, he meets a girl who recognizes him because she saw him defeat the last master of the elements. She asks if she can join him on his journey, and he says yes. Then they have an adorable moment where he lets her sit on his shoulders while he walks her home. When they arrive, he's greeted by her father, who's apparently the chief of security for this city, and he invites Avdol to his house for dinner. While they eat, they discuss how Avdol should team up with the royal guard captain to take down the criminals that are plaguing the city. Of course, Avdol accepts the challenge, but before he can do anything, the criminals attack the city. Avdol immediately runs outside to defend the people, but he's too late. One of the criminals opens up a portal and summons a giant worm monster thing that starts to destroy the city. It turns out this guy is the leader of the Thieves Guild, and he can use the same portal magic as the last master of the elements. With the help of the royal guard captain, they're able to defeat the monster and close the portal, and then Avdol chases after the Thieves Guild leader, but he gets away. When he returns to the village, he learns that the girl he met earlier had gotten kidnapped by the Thieves Guild, so he sets off again to save her. Turns out the Thieves Guild leader took her to a place called Shambhala, which is a secret underground city hidden beneath the desert. To get there, he has to cross the Great Sandy Sea, which he does by summoning a water spirit using his staff. But before he can do anything, he gets attacked by Vincent. Now it's time for our final battle. And right off the bat, Vincent opens up a portal and tries to banish Avdol's chicken. Without his chicken, Avdol loses 30 of his power, but he's still able to defeat Vincent in one hit. and Vincent gets banished to another dimension using his own portal magic. Avdol then finds Vincent's abandoned staff and picks it up. It turns out the staff gives him the ability to open portals as well, so now Avdol can fly pretty much anywhere instantly. He then returns to the city to see that it's being attacked by even more worm monsters. It turns out the Thieves Guild leader got reinforcements from another dimension. Our protagonist defeats all of the worm monsters and then heads into the sewers to take on the Thieves Guild leader. The fight is pretty intense, but eventually Avdol is able to defeat him. And turns out the Thieves Guild leader was actually the tribal shaman from his village who was posing as the Thieves Guild leader. Apparently, he did this to gather intelligence on the French guy named Vincent. But yeah, he fails at his mission and dies. Now that the city is saved, Avdol gets to have a moment with the girl he likes where she confesses her feelings for him. And they kiss. Then the two of them set off to find Vincent together. After traveling to 3 different dimensions, they finally find him. But he's only level 20, so Avdol carries him back to the main world. At this point, I've lost count of how many girls have fallen in love with Avdol. I think it's something like 6 or 7. Anyway, when they arrive back in the main world, Avdol's mom is on her deathbed, so he immediately runs over and gives her a kiss. But this doesn't revive her, so he starts freaking out. Luckily, he has that potion Vincent dropped earlier, so he quickly drinks it and gets a massive boost in power. He then throws his hands up in the air and uses his newfound power to bring his mom back to life. So now that Avdol is a dad and has defeated the main villain, it's probably time for the series to end, right? Wrong. There's actually still 2 more villains remaining. The first one is a guy who can control sand, and the second one is the actual leader of the Thieves Guild. I'll be honest, it's hard to come up with a good summary of this show because there's so many characters and dimensions and villains. I feel like the main plot is very easy to follow, but every time Avdol defeats a villain, he gets sent to a new dimension and he has to start over. But anyway, I guess the story does wrap up with the defeat of the Sand Guy and the Thieves Guild leader. After that, Avdol is finally able to return home and reunite with his family and friends. And that's the end. Oh wait, no. There's an OVA where he goes on a quest to find a legendary sword. I guess the series is not over yet. Okay, but seriously, this was such a fun anime to watch. It had a lot of filler, but the fights were awesome. If you're looking for an anime with badass characters, amazing fight scenes, and a simple storyline, I highly recommend checking this out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.